You're at the kitchen table with your phone clenched so tight your fingers ache. The screen glows back at you each, words sharp enough to cut. And the worst part isn't the lies. It's that your son wrote them. Your son. He called you crazy, manipulative, toxic. He told strangers you ruined his life. And they believed him without ever knowing you, without ever questioning his story. Your thumb drags across message after message, his secret chats, the private group threads, the Reddit-style post where he turned you into the villain of his own personal drama. Your breath stutters. In one message, he jokes about how easy it is to convince people you're insane. In another, he brags about what he'll do next, like your heart is nothing more than a prop in whatever narrative he's crafting. The room tilts. Your chest tightens. And all you can think is, after everything you gave up for him, how did you become the monster in his story? My name is Claire. I'm 59. And if this were just another AITA saga or one of those wild, toxic family Reddit tales, I'd be shaking my head at some ungrateful kid. But this isn't a story on the internet. This is my life and the ungrateful kid. That's my only son, Ethan. For years, people said I was the kind of mother others wished they had. 2 jobs, home-packed lunches. Every school performance, every game, every moment I showed up. I believed that if I poured enough love and effort into being his mom, he'd feel it. He'd know it. He'd carry it with him. But life doesn't always reward love the way you hope. I married too young, too hopeful, to a man who treated responsibility like an optional hobby. Tom, my ex-husband, was charming enough to sell you a dream, and careless enough to let it burn the moment he got bored. He'd promise Ethan everything. Trips we couldn't afford, gifts he'd never buy, futures he'd never work for. And when the fairy tales fell apart, it was always my fault. I was the one saying no. I was the one budgeting rent, groceries, bills. To Tom, I was the barrier. To Ethan, I slowly became the villain. When Ethan was 10, Tom cheated on me and cleaned out our savings on his way out the door. A new business venture, he said. It never existed. What did exist were debt collectors, foreclosure notices, and a 12-year-old boy looking at me like I'd stolen his world. Tom told him I took all his money. And Ethan believed him. I remember standing in our cramped new kitchen, eviction notice in my hand, and my son's cold disappointment in his eyes. I could have told him the truth, the affairs, the gambling, the lies. But I didn't. I just told him his father made mistakes and we'd get through it. I didn't know that keeping the truth from him would only leave a blank page for someone else to rewrite. Ethan grew into a clever, kid-funny, tech-savvy, quick with comebacks. As he got older, the internet became his second home. He devoured stories about family drama, crazy moms, toxic parents, entitled people. He'd laugh and say, "Imagine having a mother like that." I'd joke back, "You're lucky all I nag you about is dishes." I didn't know he'd eventually cast me as one of those crazy moms for an audience of strangers. Money was always tight, too tight. So I did what a lot of single mothers quietly do. I built my own safety net. A private savings account. $50 here, $100 there, the tiny cushion that stood between us and disaster. I didn't tell Ethan, not because I didn't trust him, but because I didn't want him caught in the tug-of-war his father had created. I didn't want him worrying or choosing sides, or resenting me for surviving in ways he never had to understand. I thought I was protecting him. I had no idea it would be used as evidence against me later. By the time Ethan hit high school, something in the way he looked at me had changed. It was subtle at first, a tilt of his head, a sigh, the way his eyes would harden like he was seeing someone else standing in front of him. If I said no to something, suddenly I was controlling. If I asked where he was going, I was paranoid. If I reminded him about homework, I was crazy. He'd mutter about toxic parents and boomers who don't get it before disappearing into his room like I wasn't even worth arguing with. I tried to laugh it off. Online, everyone joked about toxic family and entitled parents. It felt like a trend, not a warning. But then came the first time he called me crazy to my face. Cool. We were arguing about money specifically. The new gaming laptop he wanted for college. I told him we couldn't afford it yet. He slammed his hand on the table so hard the salt shaker jumped. "You're insane if you think I'm showing up with that old junk," he shouted. "Every sacrifice you brag about is just an excuse to control me." "You're crazy, Mom." The word hit me like a punch. My mother had struggled with depression. My sister had bipolar disorder. Crazy was the whisper people used when they thought no one could hear. And now my own son was spitting it at me like an accusation. Soon I started hearing echoes of it from everyone else. "A little emotional lately?" an aunt asked. "Don't let teenagers drive you insane," a neighbor said, her tone sharp with something she wasn't saying. It was like everyone was reading from a script. I'd never seen some running commentary about me happening behind closed doors. And then things got worse. Ethan started spending more weekends at his dad's house, and I thought it was harmless, maybe even healthy. But every time he came back, he brought little verbal grenades with him. "Dad says you're bad with money. Dad says you overreact. Dad says you're obsessed with control because you're scared of being alone." He didn't say them like opinions. He said them like diagnoses. Like he and his father were sitting somewhere analyzing me, labeling me, deciding what kind of person I was. Then came the day everything changed. We were driving home from his dad's place when I reminded him again about the scholarship deadline he'd already missed. He brushed it off like it was my fault. He didn't care. I got frustrated. My voice rose. And right in the middle of it, he lifted his phone and started recording me. No warning, no explanation. Just quietly goading and poking until I snapped. "Turn that off right now." I'd reached for the phone. That was the clip he posted. Not the argument, not the buildup. Just me leaning over the console, voice sharp, eyes wide. The perfect crazy mom moment. I didn't know about the video. Not yet. All I noticed was how people started acting around me. His friends whispering when they came over. A mom at school refusing to make eye contact. Even my sister asking if I was taking care of myself, because Ethan was really worried. Worried. Right then came the night I finally saw the truth. I came home late from work. The house was dark except for the glow of Ethan's laptop on the dining table. He was at his dad's for the weekend. Normally, I respected his privacy. I wasn't the snooping parent. I'd read enough online horror stories to know where that path led. But something was different that night. The glow of the screen, the ping of a message, the silence surrounding it. Something in me pulled closer. I sat down, I looked. The group chat was harmless at first, memes, jokes, homework talk. Then came my name. "How's your mom?" someone asked. Ethan replied, "She's completely losing it. Thinks she's mentally ill. Low-key documenting everything in case I need it later." He sent a link, the video. Me in the car, reaching, snapping, and underneath, proof. My hands went cold. I clicked another conversation, this one with his father. "Dad, did she freak out again?" "Ethan, yeah, got it on video." "Dad, good. Keep everything." The more unstable she looks, the better for us. My ears rang, my vision blurred. I kept scrolling. An anonymous Reddit account. A post about an abusive, controlling mother who screamed for no reason. It's comments telling him to go no contact, to record me, to protect himself. Thousands of strangers calling me the monster my ex wanted me to be. And then I found the worst part. A private conversation with my sister. Ethan had gone through my paperwork and found a bank statement, my emergency savings. He sent her a picture. "Oh," she replied. "And she always says she's broke." Classic manipulative behavior. Then he messaged his dad. "I think she's been stealing money from me. She has thousands saved and still says we can't afford stuff." In that moment, staring at the glowing screen in the dark, I realized something that made my heart drop straight to the floor. My son wasn't just repeating Tom's words. He was becoming him. The truth. That secret account was never a stash of stolen cash. It was my safety net. The one thing standing between us and disaster. I never touched a cent of Ethan's paychecks. I never dipped into his college fund. That fund existed because I spent more than a decade skipping dinners out, wearing the same worn shoes, saying no to vacations, and taking every overtime shift I could get. The thousands he thought I stole were really just the quiet math of survival. But from where he stood, it looked like betrayal. And my ex-husband, the man who couldn't hand over a reliable dime, was thrilled to let him think exactly that. Then came the moment I will never forget. My sister, who knew every bruise life left on me, called Ethan and said, "If you ever need to get away from her, you can stay with me. I believe you." She didn't ask if I was okay. She didn't ask why I had the account. She just stepped neatly into the role my ex had been grooming her for. The rescuer from the crazy woman. I sat in the dark that night, scrolling through years of messages where my own child built a case against me, like I was some unhinged stranger he needed to escape. This wasn't a cute Reddit drama anymore. This was my life, flattened into screenshots and half-truths for strangers to dissect. I didn't sob, I didn't scream, I just cried quiet, steady tears until morning, and something in me hardened. I was done being the villain in his story. They wanted a narrative, I'd give them one proof and all. I printed everything: pay stubs, rent receipts, utility bills, child support records showing how often Tom forgot to pay, savings account statements with every overtime deposit highlighted, Ethan's college fund paperwork placed right beside my own savings. Nothing hidden, nothing stolen, just a mother trying to keep the lights on. Then I opened Ethan's chats again, screenshots, dates, messages where he and his father mocked me, called me unstable. The link to the Reddit post. Every breadcrumb of the story he'd built against me. A week later, Ethan walked in from his dad's place, scrolling his phone, clueless. I sat at the kitchen table, every document stacked in front of me. "Sit down," I said. "We need to talk." He rolled his eyes. "If this is another lecture about money, I'm not doing this." "It's not a lecture," I told him. "It's reality." I gently took his phone and set it face down. Then I slid a printed screenshot toward him, his own message. "She's losing it. I think she's mentally ill." Below it, the car video he'd shared. His skin went pale. "Where did you get that?" he whispered. "You left your laptop open," I said. "And I found years of messages where you told people I'm crazy, including your father." He opened his mouth, but I stopped him. "You've been telling your version? Now you're going to hear mine." I showed him everything: the bills, the statements, the paychecks, the sacrifices. The shoes I didn't buy so he could have new ones for school. The sleepovers he enjoyed while I worked overtime. The vacations we skipped so rent got paid. "You think I'm overreacting about money?" I asked. "This is why. Because for years I've held everything together while your father rewrote history, and you believed him." His eyes darted over the papers, the dates, the numbers. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked quietly. "Because protecting your childhood mattered more to me than making sure you liked me," I said. "I didn't want you to carry your father's failures, so I carried them alone." Then I slid over his messages with his dad. "The more unstable she looks, the better for us." "What did he mean, Ethan?" he faltered. "He said, if you tried to stop me from seeing him, we'd need proof." "For custody, I thought we were praying." "You were building a case against the woman who kept a roof over your head," I said. "While the man who abandoned us played the victim. He had no comeback. Just guilt, heavy and sudden." Then came the second moment I'll never forget. I picked up his phone, unlocked it with Face ID, and opened Reddit. His anonymous account, his viral post about his abusive, crazy mother. Thousands of upvotes. Hundreds of strangers telling him to cut me off. I read it out loud. Every twisted detail. Every dramatic exaggeration. Every lie. He left out the nights I held him through panic attacks. The meals I skipped. The necklace I pawned so he could have a birthday gift. When I finished, I looked him in the eyes. "Is this who you really think I am? Or is this the version you needed me to be so you didn't have to face who your father is?" He broke quiet, shaking, apologizing. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I didn't think you'd ever see it. Everyone online talks about toxic parents. Dad kept saying you were unstable when you yelled. Felt like proof. I thought I was protecting myself. By destroying me. I asked. He swallowed hard. And if he gets mad, then you'll finally see which parent is actually losing their mind. I said, the bite in my voice sharp enough to cut through the air. He hesitated. Canis, what happens to us? I looked at him for a long, painful moment. I love you, I said softly. You're my son. But love doesn't erase the damage. After what I saw in those hidden messages, I can't just pretend everything's fine. So after you do those two things, I'm stepping back. A step back, he echoed, confused. I'm done being the default villain, I said. I'm done defending myself while you and your father trade stories about how crazy I am. I'm going to therapy. I'm focusing on my life. I'll support your basic needs, food, shelter, health, because that's my role as a parent. But emotionally, you're going to have to earn your way back. His eyes filled again. How do I even start? With honesty, I said. Then consistency. Not just when you want something. Not when your father needs proof I'm unstable. I mean the little moments. Showing up when it's quiet, boring, inconvenient. That's what real family looks like. The rest, we'll figure out. A few days later, Ethan showed me the Reddit post. He didn't paint himself as the villain, but he didn't protect himself either. He admitted how his father influenced him, how he exaggerated, how he slapped words like toxic and crazy onto a mom who was overwhelmed and alone. Some praised him, some criticized him, some shrugged and said it sounded like any other messy Reddit family saga. But finally, my side existed. I wasn't just a faceless, crazy mom in someone's dramatic internet confession. I was human, was visible. And when Ethan confronted his father, the man reacted exactly the way I knew he would. Ranting, raging, accusing me of manipulation, brainwashing, victim playing. She's making you choose sides, he said. Ethan fired back. You're the one who told me to collect evidence. Later, Ethan told me he heard something new that day how rehearsed his father sounded. The lines weren't spontaneous. They were scripted, practiced, familiar. That was my revenge. Not a spectacle, not a courtroom victory. Just truth. My revenge was my son finally seeing the difference between someone who held him up and someone who pulled him away. My revenge was choosing myself, my sanity, my peace even if it meant doing it alone. Now when I sit at the kitchen table, phone glowing in my hand, I still think of those hidden messages. They still sting. But I also think about Ethan's message from last week. Hey Mom, I've been reading more family stories. I didn't realize how lucky I was, even when I didn't see it. Can we talk this weekend? I didn't answer right away. For once, I let silence be the consequence. I let him carry the weight for a moment. But yes, we will talk. Not as the crazy mom in his AITA fantasy, not as the villain in his betrayal story, but as two flawed human people trying to rebuild something real from the ruins. And now I want to ask Yutha, one listening to this. Picturing that message from your own child, what would you do if your son told the world you were crazy? And then you found the messages proving it wasn't a mistake, but a plan. Tell me in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to Golden Years Diary for more stories like this.